Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. So what we've been doing is talking a little bit about resilience. One of the things we talked about was the three P's. The fact that when we have a setback, we tend to personalize it. We think that it's that whatever the setback was, that it's completely related to me. We think that it's permanent. We find that the whatever setback has happened, it sometimes feels like it's going to last forever, and the end maybe isn't in sight. Uh, and it's also pervasive. It's that the feels like the setback has encompasses every single area of my life. And these aren't true. So, of course, our setback, there are more factors to a setback than simply us. It's not permanent, it's going to end eventually. And so are the consequences, and we're going to move on. And in fact, we'll probably look back on this setback and go, "Oh, wow, I made a much bigger deal out of that than I thought." And pervasive, thinking that it encompasses every single area of my life. And so that's kind of where we want to springboard off of today, is that pervasiveness, is that we kind of tend to think that uh, others will ridicule us for whatever that setback is, and that comes in our imagination. It's of course, it doesn't make it less real. We do care about the opinions of others, and I think especially I wanted to talk about the opinions of strangers today, because I think that's something that's it's interesting, because it's one of the things that kind of makes the least amount of real impact on our lives. What's the opinion of strangers? And I think that we think that it's a lot bigger deal than it is. And in fact, it's one of the biggest regrets of people on their deathbed. I think I was looking at a study, and number one regret is, I wish I lived my life true to myself and not worry about what others thought. And so this is it's something that it's easy to say, it's easy to think about, it's easy to go, "Oh, I'm not going to let the opinion of strangers affect me today," but then it's a lot harder to actually execute and do. And where does this come from? Of course, just like pretty much everything about this hardware, and this has to do with how our brains work. It has to do with our recent past, right? The recent history of human beings, that we are social creatures, and our ability to get along in a tribe, and our ability not to be, our membership to that tribe was critical to our survival. And so it makes sense for us to be extra protective of ourselves, so that we don't get kicked out of the tribe, that we are accepted not only by those that are closest to us. Our tribes existed of about 50 people or so, but also to those who are the farthest away from us in the tribe. So how is it possible for us to let go of this stuff that isn't as applicable now as it was in the past? So how do we be aware that it's happening? Is, of course, through our mindfulness practice. So we can be aware that we are valuing the opinion of strangers highly. And I guess I want to also say here that the opinions of strangers is not useless by any means. It can, there is some indicator of quality, right? And I think that this is the issue, is that we have a hard time balancing that. Does your salary indicate your value on this earth, right? Like, there's a reason that some people are paid more than others, usually because that, well, and of course this could get political, but let's stay more theoretical. Is that the job that you're in that pays higher requires a more unique skill set. Underwater welding, for example, is a skill that doesn't require a university degree, but pays a lot because that skill is one that is rare, and not a lot of people want to do this kind of job, right? So where is this going? Is that the opinions of others, in this case, the opinions of strangers, it does have some effect here on your salary. And if you're a writer, right, you'll know that you to be able to make a living off of writing, people actually have to read what it is you've written. And so because of this, the opinion of strangers as well starts to feel more important. So what people say about me makes a difference in that case. But the issue, of course, is that then sometimes our entire sense of personal value gets wrapped up in that opinion that others have about us and strangers, right? Like how many people are at my are on my live event right now, right? Like as a Insight Timer teacher, maybe that's maybe that makes me feel like if it's not the number that I'm expecting, I don't feel as good about myself, right? Did I get enough likes on my Facebook post? I think that maybe becomes more common today as well. So all of this stuff is real, but at the end of the day, it's not really what matters, and it's not crucial to our happiness. And I think if we can start to accept that and see it with mindfulness, this really is the key. Hey, why am I so worried about what these strangers think of me? Again, it goes all the way back to self-protection all the time. That hideous outfit you wore on Friday night, that you are so worried about what are they going to think, or that mistake that you that blunder you made in ninth grade about a question, or you slipped and you said something silly, right? Like maybe you still remember that, but the chances are that nobody else does, and this is really kind of goes back to this evolutionary kind of idea of wanting to belong in the tribe, and this self-protection. Why did this come up for me? So I think this fits in well with the rest of the series on setbacks, because we really do we don't want to look like a fool in front of our friends, our coworkers, even a bunch of strangers, right? I remember Ellen DeGeneres had a stand-up skit where she talked about how if you're walking in public and you trip, you suddenly pretend like you started, like I meant to do that, and I start jogging instead, right? And so this stuff is important to us. So how can we be a bit more mindful of it? And for me, I think the reason that I brought it up is that when I was on retreat, I found that my thoughts often went to having conversations with or even this live broadcast. What am I going to say about this retreat when I get back? What's like a lot of it felt like these imaginary conversations, and again, it's because it's retreat, there's so much time for introspection, that a lot of these imaginary conversations were going to take place to impress somebody. Not really. Yes, I think under the guise of, hey, I'm a teacher and I'm going to teach. I'm going to benefit people by teaching. What underlying component of that is, well, I want to impress everybody with how much I know. So that's a really interesting kind of revelation that came, and besides thinking about setbacks, I thought that's also an interesting little tidbit to share with you all. Um, and last but not least, before we get started in our practice, this behavior also tends to be amplified with people who have social anxiety. So if you find that, if you find yourself really taking strongly to heart something that a stranger has said, this is something that tends to be really common with people who have social anxiety, and finding it hard to say no, being a perfectionist. If these things sound familiar, that might be part of it. And your awareness of your own social anxiety can be helpful as well when these kind of things show up. To go, oh, hey, I'm doing that thing that isn't really helpful, that isn't going to help me be a better person, that I'm getting too caught up in what others think. And one more little piece before I go before we get into the meditation is, those 9 attitudes. I know we haven't talked about them in a while, but the 9 attitudes of mindfulness-based stress reduction, one of those attitudes is trust. And I think it's really interesting how that my trust in myself naturally got better. I was listening quite a lot, not only to the opinions of strangers, but also to people who are close to me that didn't always have my best interests at heart. And as I meditated more, as I became a deeper mindfulness practitioner, my trust in myself deepened. And I started to go, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to listen to me. I trust that voice in me. And maybe I'm going to make a mistake, but hey, there's something really powerful about being true to yourself in that way. Yeah. I'll get in. I haven't done the 9 attitudes in a long time, so I think we're going to do those soon. Let's go ahead and get into practice. Get yourself comfortable. So I would encourage you to choose a posture that's going to be supportive. So sit up straight and tall if you can. You can bring your back away from the backrest. So the idea here is to have a posture that keeps you awake, so that you use your muscles to support yourself, to sit upright, so that we're not slouching or leaning against something. But the idea also is to be comfortable. So how can I be relaxed yet fully awake? So noticing the body, noticing if there's any tension in the body. Noticing tension in the face. And as you notice the tension, don't try to make it go away. Just see if you can observe it. And sometimes through that observation, the tension subsides all by itself. So it's not wishing things were different. Seeing if you can observe how things are. Be with how things are right now. Observe the shoulders. Observe the jaw. Observe the muscles in the back. Observe the muscles in the abdomen. Observe the pace of the breath. So maybe you can feel your abdomen moving, expanding outwards as you breathe in, contracting as you breathe out. So what is the pace of the breath? What is the depth of the breath? And sometimes, without trying to change the breath, we may notice that through that observation of the breath begins to deepen and elongate, and the body begins to relax. And subsequently, the mind also begins to relax. So as best you can, keep the attention there on the breath. The abdominal wall, the belly, moving outwards away from the spine on the in-breath, back towards the spine on the out-breath. And remembering, each time your attention has wandered away, it doesn't mean that you've failed. This is an important, integral part of our meditation process, to notice when the mind wanders and bring the mind back. So as best you can now, holding your attention there at the breath, the abdominal wall moving outwards and inwards as you breathe. So perhaps some of us have found some stability in the breath. Others are still struggling to keep the mind focused. Let's go ahead and begin to shift into a self-compassion practice. So all of these times of resilience, one of the things that can happen is loss of compassion for self. So let's see if it's possible to bring a feeling of unconditional love towards yourself. Loving the you that's sitting here right now exactly as you are. No need to be different, or better, or worthy. No need to wait for the ideal you to show up, because that ideal you is never going to be here. That perfect version of you only exists in your mind. Can you open your arms, open your heart to the you that's here now? To love yourself in this moment, because this is the only moment that you have, the moment of right now. To know that you can be here for yourself as your own best friend at any time, any place, any situation, through success and through failure. Cultivate this unconditional love towards yourself. So for some of us, we find this challenging, or we think there are certain feelings we're supposed to feel. You may feel resistance towards this practice, and that's okay. Just as best you can, following along. And so for some of us, that resistance is so strong that it can be quite challenging to cultivate feelings of loving kindness. So instead, we can use some phrases. Wishing ourselves well. And learning to use these phrases when we notice through our mindfulness practice that we're having some harshness towards ourselves. So if you like, following along after me. May I be happy and contented. May I be happy and contented. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be healthy and whole, to whatever degree possible. May I be healthy and whole. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. May I be at peace. May I have ease of well-being. And so not so much getting caught up in the words, seeing if you can really lean into the feelings. The feeling of being happy and contented. The feeling of being safe and protected. The feeling of being whole and complete. The feeling of being peaceful and at ease. And now being aware of the breath as well. The pace of the breath. The physical sensation of breath. The feeling of being alive in this moment. Just as you are. And now we'll begin to draw our practice to its close. I'll close practice with 3 rings of the bell, After the sound of the bell has subsided, feel free to begin moving your body again, opening your eyes, stretching out in any way you like. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for practicing me. Thanks for practicing with me. Thank you for being here today. Any questions or comments? I'm going to go ahead and start shifting into the comments now. The chat room. Thank you, Jean. Chris shared, to thine own self be true. And Caesar says, how to avoid this? It's not easy. We're all born with this ability, and that's this is part of the empathy hardware, right? When we have mirror neurons, and they exist in the pain center of the brain. When you see someone in pain, you literally feel your body simulates that same kind of pain, and that's part of being human. And so we often, we don't know exactly what that pain feels like. That's why I say it simulates it. And so sometimes when we look at others, we pretend that we can read their minds, and that kind of empathy isn't extremely helpful, right? I mean, we talked a little while ago about emotional contagion. So, emotional contagion isn't a very helpful, empathy itself is a, very important piece of hardware, these mirror neurons, so that we are social creatures. It's important to be able to feel what other people feel and to interpret that. But it is possible, of course, to get lost in that feeling of empathy and that feeling of the emotion that we believe the other person is feeling. And a lot of times it happens subconsciously too. Hello, Nikki. Welcome. Great to have you here. Hope the meditation was helpful. Sybil shares, judgmental comments strangers make can be destructive. Well, that's what's funny, right? Is as a stranger, and the internet's really good at making people strangers, let's say, because it's so easy to be anonymous and toxically anonymous, because when I'm anonymous, there are no repercussions for my actions, and I can be toxic and destructive. And I don't know. I don't know exactly the kick that people get out of that. I think it's when I suffer, it makes it makes me feel happy that other people are suffering more than me. That's a common kind of human idea, and it's really a shame. And I think that's the other thing, is it possible, and I think as our practice develops and others say harmful, destructive comments, we can recognize their suffering, and we can offer, through a more developed practice, offer compassion to those people, because that's really where it comes out of. Thank you, Iga. Yeah, we'll be. I think it's about time to do the 9 attitudes again. It's. I know it had been requested a while ago, so we'll probably do that again here soon. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Robin, Iga, Natasha, Nadine. If you love yourself, you feel good, so it's easy to love others. That's right. But not always, right? Especially the challenging people. So it's easier to love those who are easier. But like I say, through a developed practice, we can start to reach out and love others. Bullies are usually afraid. Yeah, and usually, right, there's a reason, I think, that people are bullies. And it tends to be a kind of suffering that, to kind of push that suffering out that they experience on others. Life's unfair. Life's unfair to me. And so let me see if I can push that pain that I feel out on others. Thanks, Ika, for your donation. Much appreciated. Okay. In recognition of November coming up, I mean, here in Singapore, it's Halloween. It's 31st of October. I was debating. I don't really, honestly. I like my facial hair, but I think maybe part of the practice is to practice non-attachment. So it's Movember coming up. I feel like a person who's kind of works in. I work in, even though I'm not officially a mental health service provider, I feel like being a mindfulness practitioner and teacher is something in the mental health field. So, hey, Movember is a good way to start conversations. Right? Oh wow, Ryan, you look different without your beard. So that's a way to get going. So tonight I'm just gonna shave all this off and start growing the mustache from scratch. For Movember, it's men's mental health, but I think that extends beyond men. So that's what I'll come back on my Thursday morning. So it'll be November 1st for a lot of you, but November 2nd for me by then. And I'll be clean shaven, except for whatever stubble is here as the mustache starts to grow out. So that's it, is the idea is to encourage everybody to remember that mental health is important. And I would say here in Singapore, that's something I'm quite happy about, is finally mental health is really starting to come to the forefront of conversations here. I think Singapore was lagging behind some of the other countries in that. I know, yeah. Oh no, Movember. I know. I feel the same way. I don't really kind of like it. I like things as they are, But yeah, that's funny, right? It's just funny to say that. I like things as they are, because that goes for a lot more than just facial hair, doesn't it? Jill says, hi, haven't been able to attend for a while. Where can I find the schedule of live events? It's on my profile page in Insight Timer. So, what I'm doing these days is every Tuesday and Thursday morning, my time, at 5:10 a.m. So if you're in the Western Hemisphere or you're in Europe, that would be some other time, but usually on Monday and Wednesday. Are you hungry? Let's look at that. This is a nasty face. It doesn't look like a smile, right? As always, you can, if you found today's practice useful, follow me on Insight Timer. If you missed the practice, you want to see it again, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube later, so you can check it out. If you're a premium member, listen to my premium tracks. If you're not, listen to my regular tracks. If you feel like it, you can donate. Thanks for thanks for being here. Resting cat face is really funny. Really is, right? Thank you, CC, for your donation. And I'll see you guys next time, but next time with no facial hair. Oh, no facial hair. Thanks, Gene. Yeah, that is a good. Oh man, the course is in the pipeline. I just got to get to it. This little 1-year-old, it's just it's like a little. It's hard not to let him absorb my time. All right, it'll grow back. Exactly right. Impermanence. That's the whole thing. All right. See you next time. Oh, wait. Send well wishes out. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all sentient life here on this planet, throughout the universe, anywhere and everywhere, those yet to be born, may we all be happy and peaceful. See you next time. Bye-bye.